What's up, guys? Today we're just going to do a general market update. We're going to go through some sets that are getting ready to rotate out, as I think these are probably the best, more modern investment out there. We're going to go over some Sword and Shield stuff and just some popular sets that we should kind of keep an eye on. So first up, we're going to go through the first sets that are rotating out next year, starting off with Temporal Forces. Temporal Forces up to $330 a booster box. We're up 27% over the last 3 months, 11% over the last month, with recent sales right at 335. That's awesome because I'm trying to sell a sealed case of these. Personally, I don't really believe in temporal forces, and it's part of my PC, so see my videos about Pokemon buying me a house, essentially. Same thing with Twilight Masquerade. Twilight Masquerade is up to, what is that, 385 for a booster box, as lowest listed. And recent sales, there's one for 400 and 375. We are up 12% in the last 3 months and 6% in the last month. I sold one of these this month or last month, I believe, and I think I have like 6 more. So I'm going to be looking to thin some of those out as we keep getting closer to rotation. Next, we have Shrouded Fable. Personally, I don't own any Shrouded Fable outside of the PCETBs. It's a bad set. It's not something that I personally want to be buying and holding. However, that being said, it's up 61% in the last 3 months. 40% in the last month. It just does not have a whole lot of liquidity. Recent solds, looking at the data, there's one for 150 and the rest are about 138. Next, we have Stellar Crown booster box. And I sold my Stellar Crown, I want to say it was like 200 or 225 a box. Another set that I don't think is very good. We're up 16% in the last 3 months, about 9% in the last month. Recent solds are between 370 and like 350. And honestly, that really blows my mind just because you only have 2 chase cards in their illustration rares. You have a Squirtle and a Bulbasaur, and they both have like a 30,000 pop, but I actually just sold those recently too. Next, we have Surging Sparks. Now, Surging Sparks has been flat basically the last year. We're up about 7% on the last month. Recent sales are between 265 and like 285, with our lowest listed right around 270. I really think Surging Sparks should be a lot more valuable than Stellar Crown, just because Stellar Crown's not very good. Surging Sparks has a good amount of depth. Next, we go on to Prismatic Evolutions. Everybody knows that big reprint really hammered the market value from 211. Looks like we reached a bottom about 162. We're sitting at recent sales of about 162, 163, with our lowest listed right at 165. We are also going to look at the SPC, just because the SPC is currently getting reprinted. I believe the Sam's Club drop is today, and we hit an all-time high of 390, let's call it, and recent sales are 265 to like 280. Yeah, definitely. I think this is a screaming buy, anything under like 225. That being said, I still have a bunch of them. Hopefully I can score on Sam's tonight. You guys are probably going to watch this video in a couple days, so hopefully you've already hit. Hopefully we see some W's in the comments. So that's it for what's rotating out next. I believe it's April. Now we're going to look at just some popular sets. We have Ascended Heroes. Ascended Heroes is up 60% in the last 3 months, 11% in the last month, and the popularity of Ascended Heroes has kind of dipped. I don't know if that's because Chaos Rising's here, or if it's just because people are tired of spending so much money and we're overdue for a reprint. We have recent sales between 165 and 170. So if we take a look at some of the singles, we essentially have the Trikachu, as people are calling it, and the Gengar fighting for first spot. They're about $20 apart from each other. And then we still have a ton of cards over that $100 mark, or right around that $100 mark. The Gengar was about $100 at one point, but we had like 15 cards at $100 at one point. Definitely not there anymore. Next, we're going to move on to Phantasmal Flames. We're sitting right about 465, I want to say, is lowest listed. 39% over the course of 3 months. We're still up about 19%. Looks like we're dipping down a little bit here. I mean, as long as we don't get any reprints, this box is just going to go crazy. Last sold is 275. I would imagine these 245s aren't legit sales. And then we have one at 456. Let's actually look. Reputable seller is 465. Now we're going to take a look at the Mega Charizard, which is the reason that set is so valuable, that booster box. We're up 30% in the last 3 months and pretty much flat over the course of the last month. and our recent solds are anywhere between 771 and 900. Not a whole lot selling per day, as about 3 are selling per day. I guess it's actually kind of a lot for how expensive it is. Then I'd like to take a look at the singles in the set. Obviously, we have the Mega Charizard we just looked at, but after that, we have the 3 Charizards, which only 2 are even over $40. Then, like, what's the second real chase here? Is it Dawn? Is it Meowth? They're kind of neck and neck fighting for it. I guess we'll kind of figure out in the long run, the next 3-5 years, what's going to take over. I really like the Meowth, but I don't know. Maybe trainers get, their heyday again. Who really knows? Next, we're going to take a look at Silver Tempest because Silver Tempest has been on the move. And personally, I think Phantasmal Flames and Silver Tempest are essentially the exact same set. You just replace a Lugia with a Charizard. Over the last month, we're up 17.5%. Over 3 months, we're up 13%. Recent sales are right at 600. So we have officially broken 600. The lowest listed is 615. And that means Silver Tempest is one of the more expensive booster boxes of Sword and Shield now. I believe it's surpassed Chilling Reign. It's definitely passed Astral Radiance. Taking a look at the Lugia, just like we did the Charizard. And the Lugia is, I mean, look at that. That is just a straight diagonal line over the last 3 months. We're up 41%. And we're up about 8% over the last month. All-time highs, let's see what yep, we surpassed all-time highs. Previous all-time high was 466, and now we're about 500 with recent sales at 500. So that's great to see. That Lugia is S tier, and yeah, I mean, I expect that and the Charizard to just keep going ham. Then we're going to take the Rayquaza. This could be another reason the booster box is moving up for Silver Tempest, but the Rayquaza could also just be Rayquaza height for the next Rayquaza set that's coming out. I believe it's November or something around there, or July. Over the course of the last 3 months, we've effectively doubled in value. We're about 100%, about 21 to 22% over the course of the last month. And our recent solds are 200 and 230. So Rayquaza is pumping. I would assume that's because of the set that's coming out. That'll probably pull back quite a bit. Next, we're going to take a look at Destined Rivals. Now, Destined Rivals, I know the liquidity on sets just kind of drop, and something like this for me to sell would take forever. I remember the ETBs I had at like $200 for the longest time, and I believe they hit like 225 or something like that, and I just could not sell them on the website. Nobody wanted them, even with that $25 discount. So I ended up selling them locally to a local guy, and they basically rip everything. So it was good to see that. But recent sales on the booster box is 230 or 630 to like 650. Our lowest listed from a reputable seller is going to be MVP at 625, and then it's going to be like 630. So 630 as, let's see, what is the all-time high here? We are essentially at all-time highs, a little bit under all-time highs for Destined Rivals. Next, we're taking a look at Fusion Strike now. Those of you that know, I just sold a bunch of Fusion Strike, 3 booster boxes and 100 loose packs. That all came from my PC. For the Pokemon's Gonna Buy Me a House Fund, we're up about 11% in the last 3 months, about 13% in the last month. Recent solds are, I don't know what the 1500 is there or the 990, but basically 1110 and 1150. So Fusion Strike is moving again. That's great to see for these Sword and Shield sets. And remember, I called it out. I said eventually people are going to go, why are we spending so much money on Mega Evolutions? It's brand new. It's here for 2-3 years. Why are we not buying Sword and Shield sets that seem undervalued simply because a set like Destined Rivals is, $650 when the Silver Tempest is still cheaper? And just remember, I called this out. I said this was going to happen because people eventually were going to say Mega Evolutions is too expensive. It doesn't make sense. Same thing with Scarlet Violet. It's too expensive. It's still in rotation for a year to 2 years to even 3 years with the, Chaos Rising and stuff like that. And you have Destined Rivals sitting at 650, but here you have Silver Tempest at $600. Like, make that make sense. Phantasmal Flames, same deal. You have Phantasmal Flames at over $450, and Silver Tempest is now 600. But if you go back to the start of the month, it was $450. They were literally the same price. But Silver Tempest is a lot older. I mean, it just made sense. There was no risk to Silver Tempest being reprinted like Phantasmal Flames might. So I am not surprised at all that Sword and Shield is finally moving. It's finally good to see, and it's good to see that I was right with my guess or estimate or whatever you want to call it, Now we have Lost Origins again moving up. We're up about 5%. Looks like we're taking a dip. We hit 825 essentially and back down to 770. I wonder if that's just market manipulation. Last month we're still up about the same amount. Recent solds are 810, 815. Yeah, $15 sales, that's market manipulation. That's why it dropped. So we're essentially at an $800 booster box. Reputable seller is like 838. So Lost Origin is approaching that $1,000 mark. And I said this in another video, Lost Origin should be a $1,000 box. I think it's going to hit it by the end of the year. We have Chilling Reign. I have a Chilling Reign booster box for sale. Again, I'm going to be selling some of my Sword and Shield, like Lost Origin. I have Lost Origin PCTBs, normal ETBs, packs, all sorts of stuff. If you guys are interested, join the Discord. I try to post stuff locally, either in Discord or on Facebook, and then eventually it goes to the website. The PC stuff is going into a separate bank account. That's why I do that. It goes to the Pokemon's Gonna Buy Me a House fund. So over the course of the last 3 months, Chilling Reign is down 2.5%. In the last month, we're basically flat. I mean, Chilling Reign has really disappointed me. Look at this chart. I mean, it's really sad. Almost 580, went all the way back down to 420, went back up to 550, and now we're just trading sideways again. Like, nobody wants Chilling Reign, and I don't understand. It's a $500 box. So clearly Silver Tempest has overtaken Chilling Reign, and I don't understand why Chilling Reign gets no love. I don't know if it's because Blaziken's not popular, the Galarian Moltres isn't popular. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on with Chilling Reign. Maybe it'll get its day in the sunshine sometime, but until then, Chilling Reign is just not loved. It's lagging behind all the rest for whatever reason. It's just not that popular of a set. You know, I kind of talk about stuff like this occasionally where Chilling Reign at $500 doesn't sell, but you know, let me find it. Fusion Strike at $1,100 still sells. I've sold 3 booster boxes, like I said earlier in the video, literally in the last week. Fusion Strike will still sell at $1,100. It's definitely a bit harder to move at that price point, but there's still buyers there. However, Chilling Reign at half the price, nobody wants it, won't move. And I guess that's just because if stuff's trading sideways or going down, nobody wants it. There's no FOMO, there's no hype involved. But you know, as soon as stuff starts taking up and starts, you know, rocketing to the moon, essentially, all this FOMO and hype come into it, and then people want to buy then. It just doesn't make any sense. You should be buying on the way down, like with the SPC reprint. Let's see if I can pull that up. Like with the SPC reprint, you see a chart like this, you should be buying that. Everybody knows this is an S tier product. You should be buying this, you know, maybe not right now at 270, but after Sam's Club drops, after Sam's Club gets in people's hands and people start fire selling, all the people who have maxed out credit cards and just looking for quick flips because they need a mortgage payment or whatever, that is when you should be buying. I think this is probably going to get under 250. Personally, I'm not buying just because I have so many already, but if it gets to 200, I will definitely buy a couple more. 250, I'm not in love with it, but 200, I love it. Chilling Reign at 500, I still think that's a good buy. I just don't know the reason why it's not moving like the others, to be honest. That being said, I am still trying to sell some Sword and Shield. To piggyback on the liquidity issue I've mentioned in a previous video, somewhere between, you know, $300 and $1,000, a lot of these booster boxes or ETBs or whatever, liquidity dries up, and it really just depends on the set. Chilling Reign, $500, liquidity's dried up. Fusion Strike at $1,100, liquidity still has not dried up yet. Knowing my customers through my website, essentially ETBs don't really sell too well over $150. Booster boxes don't really sell too well over like the $250 to $300 range unless it's a brand new release. Then they tend to sell pretty well. But outside of that, you know, you get some of these older boxes, nobody wants them. They don't sell, at least for me on my website, knowing my customer base. I had Chilling Reign up there for a really long time. Nobody wanted it. So I just took it down. I have it posted locally. Same thing with my Hidden Fates ETB. I had that up for a while. I was like $80 under market. Nobody wanted it. I just took it down. I'll repost it at another point, maybe when it starts moving, or maybe I can move it locally. But that's part of just knowing your customer base and kind of understanding the Pokemon market. All right, guys, let me know in the comments, did I miss something that you think I should have talked about? Are you surprised that, Silver Tempest has overtaken Chilling Reign? Are you surprised Sword and Shield is moving like it is? Are you surprised that Trikachu is giving the Gengar a run for its money? As always, if you guys are interested in anything, shop my website, maxpacks.com, and I'll see you guys on the next video.